So I will call to order the May meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. We're meeting a week early because of Memorial Day next week. And we're meeting once again virtually for obvious reasons. So we'll start with the consent calendar, the approval of minutes.
Do you want me to, Kathleen,
oh, sorry, the roll call
real quick?
Yeah, let's get the roll call. Sorry, yeah.
Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Les Coyne.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
Okay, thank you, Kim. And then we move to the consent calendar. So we have the approval of minutes, the claims submitted, non-reverting budget items, business report, and a little bit of surplus to approve. And do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
You do have a motion. I move we approve the consent calendar as submitted.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion unanimously carried for the consent calendar. And then we move into the public hearings and appearances, and we'll see if we have any public comments via email or Facebook Live.
I don't see anything on Facebook.
Okay.
And nothing in my email.
Okay, all right. Then thanks for checking on that. We will move on to the Bravo Award. Sarah Owen will tell us about Kathy Meyer.
Sarah Owen, Community Relations Coordinator. As Kathleen just mentioned, this month we are recognizing Kathy Meyer as our Bravo Award recipient. The Bravo Award is to recognize our exceptional volunteers, and Kathy, as you will soon learn, is the definition of exceptional as a volunteer. Kathy recently retired from nearly 30 years of service with the Monroe County Parks and Recreation Department, but she has been a staple of service with our programs for many years, for over 15 years, in fact. She has donated her time to the ERAC, Environmental Resources Advisory Council, to our Griffey Lake Nature Days, our Leonard Springs Nature Days, our Adopt an Acre program, and last year volunteered with the Dearly Departed Cemetery Tours. In full, I had to do a rough estimate because our records only went back so far. I estimated that Kathy has put in about 600 hours and upwards of 600 hours over the course of over 15 years, which is just tremendous. And so she has really shared her passion and knowledge of natural resources with the community, and we are extremely grateful to her. Even though she has retired this year, she is continuing to help with Adopt an Acre. And when we resume Leonard Springs and Griffey Lake Nature Days this fall, we're eager to work with Kathy again. So we are incredibly grateful to her. And one day, hopefully soon, we'll be able to hand off her Bravo Award to her. But we're very happy to recognize her this month. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kathy to say a couple words.
I'm fortunate to live in a community that has such a wonderful park department and so many wonderful natural spaces. And it is a privilege and an honor to promote the activities and services of the department any way that I can.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
you.
Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Here, here, Kathy.
When I was reading over the background information about you, I'm pretty sure that when my son is now 17, and I think when he was about 4, he and I went on some sort of nature hike that you led, and it's honestly the only reason I know how to identify any trees. I've retained all of that tree information, and that's kind of all I have in the natural world, but I cling to that, so it was excellent. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
All right, so then we will move into other business. We don't have nearly as many things as we normally would, but that's a chance for us to devote a little bit more time into the reports section to hear some updates on how things are going, during managing parks in the midst of COVID-19. So first we'll get on with a couple of contracts here. Contract with Ecologic LLC from Joanna.
Hello, this is Joanna Sparks, the city landscaper. And I wanted to present a contract with Ecologic again for invasive plant management, this time at the Switchyard Park and also at Park Ridge East Park. The project at Park Ridge East Park, I'm very excited to be able to give the Park Ridge East Neighborhood Association a huge round of applause for their incredible involvement in the park, and most especially in invasive plant management and native plant restoration work there. We've been partnering with them for a couple of years. They received a hand grant last year that actually got the major push for the invasive plant management going, and that was contracted through Ecologic. And the contract I'm presenting today, we will provide follow-up work on that work, that invasive plant management, and also to support their efforts to educate the public on the importance of pollinators and native plants. And the invasive plant management activities at Switchyard Park are just a continuation of the work we've been doing to the south along the Bloomington Rail Trail, and then also within the park itself as part of the ecological restoration project that's going on in conjunction with the creation of the Switchyard Park. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have none.
Okay, Israel, any questions?
No question.
Okay. All right, so do we have a motion for approval of the contract with Ecologic LLC?
I would like to so move.
I second.
All right, all those in favor? Well, any public comment or question? Haven't heard any, so all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. All right,
Thanks, Don.
thank you, Joanna.
Well, thank you very much.
And then Rebecca has two items to tell us about. First up is review of a partnership with the Summer Star Foundation.
Yes, hello, Rebecca Janian, Natural Resources Coordinator for the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation. This will be the 9th year for this partnership with Summer Star Foundation. I'm very happy to be able to continue working with them. They're willing to adjust as we all are with the times. So this partnership agreement is a little bit different than it's been in the last 9 years, in the sense that we won't be able to meet in person this year. But that doesn't mean that we want to miss out on the opportunity to connect Banneker children with nature. So our plan is to create take-home nature activity kits that we will actually be delivering with their lunches, just their meals. They'll be still getting 3 meals a day. Some of the items that will be included in these nature packets are going to include the magnifying scopes, do-it-yourself nature kits, and lesson prompts. We also hope to eventually virtually meet with some of these kids, but we do understand that not everybody's going to have access to Wi-Fi all the time or an electronic device with that ability. But we're hoping to, again, still take this opportunity to teach children about the environment around Bloomington. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments, Les?
None.
Okay, Israel?
No question.
Okay, all right, very, very innovative response to what's going on, to have some nature kits for the kids to take home. That's great. So if we have a motion for approval of the partnership with Summer Star Foundation.
Yes, I'm pleased to make a motion to approve the partnership with Summer Star Foundation.
I second.
All right, any public comments or questions?
Done.
So, all right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion carried. All right, and then we have, Rebecca also has the review of the license agreement with Outer Spatial.
Yep. So I'm also here to present to you a license agreement with a company called Outer Spatial that is based out west. I first heard of them on a webinar and then got to meet Ryan in person at the IPRA conference this year. I'm really excited about the idea of being able to create a trail map app for the city of Bloomington. We're hoping to start off with Griffey Lake Nature Preserve, but eventually apply this to all of our wonderful city parks around Bloomington. What this app would not only do for us as park managers, being able to collect important data as far as park usage, what parks are they interested in, what trails are they visiting, but also for the trail user, we can create an interpretive, interactive experience for them out there. So not only will they be able to plan a little bit ahead, being able to pull up our trail data that we already have gathered using our great GIS department and staff, but we also be able to trigger different points of interest out there. So when they're close on the trail to maybe a beautiful, huge tulip poplar tree, we'll trigger their app to vibrate and stop them and be like, do you want to learn more? Click to learn. We could have, it could be informational as far as just photos, it could be videos, it could be audio. There's a lot of different use to this app. And so I'm really excited at the opportunity to work with Outer Spatial. And I feel like now is the best time than ever for all of us to give people more things to do. I'm happy to answer any questions at the time.
Okay, great. Les, do you have any questions?
No, all I got to say is, wow, that sounds very, very cool. Congratulations for hooking up on that one.
Right, Rebecca. So I have a question. So the app would be just in English or would be accessible to other languages?
It can be accessible to other languages. It'll actually be dependent on how the user downloads the app. So if they were already downloading app in Spanish, for instance, they will have that option for Outer Spatial as well. A lot of it is more based on geospatial data, so a lot of maps and things of that nature. But that's a good point. I'm curious of how many other languages we could offer. I'm gonna make that note. Thank you, great question.
And there is a mention about the Griffey Lake Nature Preserve. So regarding the lakes, that would be the only site besides our trails in Bloomington?
So it'll be Griffey Lake. We're hoping to incorporate Switchyard Park as well. Is that what you're talking about? Like
Yeah.
Clear Creek Trail is one that we're looking at doing. Parks that already have some interpretive signs are really good pilots for this project because we already, again, have that information gathered, great photos, especially at Switchyard Park, working with the Bloomington Historical Society. So to just try to bring that information to another platform for park users.
And just one last question, sorry about this.
No, I can talk about this all day.
When you mean engagement with the public, with the community, that would be just providing the information, or is there any possibility to be in contact with someone if there is a question, like on site?
Yes, so that's a great question. So we definitely hope to include information of who to contact for, let's say, something like litter on site, or we also hope to use this interface to communicate when there's trail closures or there's potentially hazards on site, inclement weather, things of that nature. It is going to open up a communication channel between park managers and park users. Another great application.
Great. Excellent.
All right, excellent. So do we have a motion for approval of this license agreement?
Yes, I'm happy to move that we approve the licensee agreement with Outer Spatial.
Second.
All right, and do we have any public comment or question coming in on email or Facebook?
No,
None from me.
Okay, all right, then all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion unanimously carried. Thank you, Rebecca. And we'll move into the report section, starting with Paula, with an administrative community relations update.
Yes. So, oh, thank you. Kim is right on it. She has worked on putting this presentation together with input and slides from all of our directors. But we are taking advantage of a shorter agenda, as it worked out today, to really fill up the remainder of our time this afternoon with reports from all 4 divisions. And we will be starting off focusing very much on the last 2 months of how the department has operated through all the divisions in response to COVID and how we're preparing for our summer season. And then when we get into John and Dave's reports, they have project updates for you. So feel free to ask questions. We're really excited to walk you through and give you an update. So I'm going to start off with an administrative update beginning in March, mid-March, when this hit, and we were in a very reactive mode. The city never stopped and never shut down services. So our department, we were in response mode. The whole city was in response mode. And in the Parks Department, it seemed like, I won't even say every day we were responding to more guidelines and restrictions, but we were responding to latest information on closures. Kim, can I ask you to go back just to the slide, because this is in the future, but focusing on closing playgrounds, closing our basketball courts, getting our physical distancing signage up. And immediately we were in contact with the Indiana Parks and Recreation Association, reached out within days to pull all the departments together to begin sharing and interpreting all of the guidelines and restrictions that were coming down. In addition to connecting with our national organization for support and guidance in that. So we spent the very first several weeks just really reacting to what it meant to shut down, to put restrictions into place. Very quickly, however, and I know that I've talked to all of you about it, people were going out to our parks. So that was the escape when the order was to stay at home. People did leave their homes and were using our trails, were using our parks. So really we were witnessing how our park system addresses both the physical activity need and also the mental health benefit to what we do. And we'll be showing you examples of how we changed our programming. But I do want to take the opportunity to commend our staff for staying calm, asking good questions, for doing a lot of research, for responding, as I said, sometimes within hours if it was a new sign that needed to go up or a new closure that needed to happen, getting PPEs in the hands of our employees. At this time, we started to mow grass because spring was springing and flowers were growing. And so we just, from all appearances, wanted to maintain and keep doing what we do while responding to this pandemic. So just really high praise for Parks Department staff who responded through this. Now I'm going to have Kim bring up our next slides of how we're preparing to move forward. So as I mentioned, we have a lot of resources that staff have tapped into. Our own state association has hosted a variety of roundtable sessions on particular areas, a roundtable about operating camps, a roundtable about special events, a roundtable about aquatics. So really diving into the issues, a lot of surveys we participated in, just communicating out not only within the state, but nationally, the decisions that we were making. And all along, feeling good about the decisions that we were making. We were definitely in the majority of the steps that we were taking. So 2 weeks ago, we started to change our attention, sort of the reactive mode started to settle down, and we started to focus on our future. And of course, everyone received their summer program guide in the mail, and Julie had just enough time before that went to print to put a banner across the cover to encourage people to be sure to stay in touch with our cancellations and postponements on our website. So, you know, we were planning summer like we always plan summer, which is with a lot of activities. But our staff completed what we're calling the reopening master plan. And I am going to walk you through just 3 examples of these sheets, but essentially in all 4 divisions, administration, recreation, sports, and operations, they have these worksheets. And they are set up by stages. And this is the administration's worksheet. So very focused on the main office, building our customer service staff and community relations. But no dates are attached to these stages because we don't know how long we're going to be in each stage. But the idea behind it is when a new stage is announced, our staff can turn to these worksheets and they have already thought through what steps our employees and staff are going to take, how we're going to meet and greet and interact with the public, and then how we're going to prepare our different facilities and sites. As you know, we have a laundry list, 27 playgrounds, 34 parks, acres of parkland, trails, and that. So thinking through how people interact and use a variety of our sites. And so as you can see, we have listed the PPEs and resources needed, and we are working on getting this all in place. It's been nice to have these couple of weeks to get everything in order, but for an example, when stage 2 was announced, Monroe County moved into stage 2 beginning May 16th, we immediately turned to our stage 2 worksheets, and what does that mean for us? So this is the park administration. I'll have Julie move to the next slide. Kim, sorry. Here you will see this is a sample. This is Banneker Community Center and what stage 2 means for Banneker. So what our employees are currently doing, how they're working, split shifts, social distancing, wearing masks and gloves. Currently Banneker is closed to the public, so that is noted. And then the activity that is ongoing in the facility right now, the sanitation and workstations and sanitizing restrooms. The side chart shows you what program staff, how our program staff are planning. So noting all of the programs that they have planned, what the schedule date is, and then what, when they need to make a decision on if it's going to be ongoing, and then what their decision timeline. As programmers, they plan for several weeks, several months in advance, so they cannot cancel a program within 2 days. They need to, if they're going to cancel or postpone a program, they need to be making those decisions in advance. But again, this is a good snapshot of how the program staff are planning for the various stages. And then Kim, I'll ask you to go to the operations slide. Again, stage 2, as I mentioned, didn't change a whole lot for the department, but you can see, you know, employees, again, parks did not shut down. So we have been working. We have brought our seasonal staff on. As I said, our mowing contracts are in full swing. Our landscaping, things are growing. It was a beautiful spring, so we have to care for all of our properties. But this lists the protocols that we put in place and currently operate under. Again, how we're interacting with the public, and I'm sure if you've been out, you've seen our social distancing, physical distancing signs and that. And then we just show that our playgrounds remain to be closed. We're not taking shelter reservations, the facilities that are open, and just all the precautions that we're taking. I can tell you just when we move to stage 3, it's still going to be preparing a lot of these areas for future openings. So when you start to think about what it takes to sanitize a playground, that takes time. We have to sanitize park benches, picnic tables, shelters, restrooms. It's a long list of what we'll need, not only to prepare for when we're able to reopen, but then once we are open, maintaining that protocol and those sanitation measures. So my main communication to you this afternoon is we were really busy when I think our March Park Board meeting was a few hours before City Hall closed down, and there was a lot of scrambling, and we were staff were preparing to telecommute. We have several staff that have been working remotely, but we have a lot of staff who have been showing up day after day on the front line, keeping the parks open and operating. But this is our game plan as we prepare for whatever stage is announced. And again, it's a fluid document. So as more information comes out, if any restrictions or protocols are changed, we can go right in there and update our documents. But really, staff dug deep and had to interpret a lot of information and then apply it and start to put together this plan. So, and again, this last slide shows how when we eventually are able to progress, what that would mean in operation. So as I referenced, currently our playgrounds are closed down, but in stage 3, will we begin to disinfect and starting to open up these areas. So, and again, we've also noted the number of people that are allowed in each stage. So a lot to think about, but as you know, we have talented, creative, energetic staff who have put a lot of thought and effort, a lot of meetings like this discussing, and they have, as I said, they have been participating throughout, state opportunities and of course nationally as well, and just picking up and gleaning and interpreting all this information. I will mention we pay close attention to the CDC guidelines. The Monroe County Health Department has been instrumental in approving our plans. Becky will talk to you more in depth about the farmers market, but we have a wonderful relationship and partnership with the Monroe County Health Department, have for many years, working in the health and wellness area, and so it's been really good. And I also want to mention, as you know, we have a health and wellness coordinator as a staff member, Jess Klein. That's a position we've had in the department almost 15 years now, and it's a position that requires a background in public health. And as you know, we've been operating under that umbrella for a long time because everything we do in Parks and Recreation has a health impact. And these last few months have really, we've really realized that, and we have leaned heavily on Jess for research, for pitching her any idea that we want to do, vetting that out, and she was instrumental in putting together this manual, and we'll be monitoring and helping staff keep that updated. So again, the public health correlation with Parks and Recreation is really in the forefront right now, and we're making sure that we're following all of those guidelines and partnering with all the health officials to keep our staff and our community safe as they interact with the department. I'd be happy to take any questions, and then I'm going to turn it over to Julie, who's going to talk about some virtual programming and social media efforts during COVID.
Okay. Les, do you have any questions? Oh, Les is on mute.
He's on mute.
Okay.
It's easy to forget. No, I don't have any questions, but only to say that the staff is standing up to their reputation of really doing some very creative and exceptional things for the people of Bloomington, even in a time like this.
Thank you.
Yes, Israel, any questions or comments?
No, just keep doing the excellent work. I know that this is a difficult time, but the unit has been doing excellent things, so keep it up.
Thank you.
second that, just very well organized in the approach to everything that needed to be done. And I admit when you were talking about sanitizing playgrounds, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's a lot, people probably don't always recognize the scope of all the things that are under parks. So yeah, so excellent. Good to hear that information. All right, and then Julie is going to tell us about some virtual programming.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Julie Ramey. I'm the Community Relations Manager for the Parks and Recreation Department. Everybody hear me okay? I was playing with the mute button earlier, want to make sure. So as Paula mentioned, there's a lot going on right now, and our job in community relations is to let the people of Bloomington know what's going on with Parks and Recreation. So we have been utilizing virtual programming from very early on, and I gave you a bit of a preview of some of the virtual programming that we've been doing at last month's meeting. Banneker Community Center in particular has been cranking out lots of virtual programming for their preschool programming, the youth programs, and the teen programs. Our community event staff has planned several community-wide events, tie-dye shirts, and how to make puffy chalk. And Rebecca and her natural resources staff have been just doing an amazing series called What's in My Backyard, everything from plants to baby bunnies. So if you haven't seen the baby bunnies episode, I really encourage everyone out there in TV land to go onto our Facebook pages. There are several ways to connect with our virtual programming through social media. We created a Facebook page just for the Banneker Community Center. That's where the virtual programming for that facility lives. Of course, City of Bloomington, IN, Parks and Recreation is the Facebook page where we have been promoting our community event programming, and the Facebook page, of course, for the farmers market, in which Becky is going to talk about the market a little bit later, but we've also been using social media to promote what's going on with the farmers market, the online shopping, the online store, and trying to keep our farmers market vendors front and center as we go into the spring market season. A lot of our customers are really interested in some typical things that we would be doing this weekend. Usually Memorial Day weekend would herald the opening of the swimming pools. That's not going to happen this year, so at least not on Memorial Day. So we've been updating the website and social media pages for all of those events, trying to be the source for all of that Parks and Recreation information. Of course, like it says on the cover of our program guide, before you head out to a facility or head out to use a park, you can always call the Parks and Recreation Department at 812-349-3700 to get the latest and greatest, or visit our website at bloomington.in.gov/parks. Look up your favorite park or check out the calendar for your favorite program to see what its status might be. It's a moving target. Things are changing all the time. So we're just doing our best to keep pushing out information as we know, dates as we know them, rescheduled dates as we know them, and keep everyone informed.
Right, great. Thank you, Julie, for that information. All right, good to know, especially that Banneker has their own Facebook page now where they can easily find information about all of those programs there. And I will definitely check on the Baby Bunnies episode. So, and is Becky up next?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Another beautiful background, yes. Is that your backyard?
That is a picture of flowers from Farmer's Market.
Nice.
Actually, so yes, it was fun to make that the background. So Becky Barrick Higgins, actually, Recreation Services Division Director, with an update from the recreation area. And I think I'll start right off with Farmers Market. Farmers Market transitioned from an online drive-through pickup market in April to a walk-through pickup market in May due to the COVID-19. During the month of April, customers participated in an online prepaid order process, as Julie mentioned, and then picked up purchases curbside at the Switchyard Park Pavilion. After a rocky start, the first week was very rocky, but the customers were good to us and came back, and staff got into the groove, and we were able to provide excellent customer service for all those who utilize this form of market. And a group effort between several city departments made this effort possible, including Economic and Sustainability Development Area and the Controller's Office. And it was really great to see the different departments working together so feverishly to get something off the ground. In May, with the increase of vendors and available items for purchase, we transitioned to an on-site walkthrough market. Customers still placed and paid for their orders online, but now they walk through the site at Showers Common, and Kim just put up some pictures, and they pick up their purchases directly from the vendors. So currently, plans for the future of market are being discussed with the Monroe County Health Department, and we hope to offer the Tuesday market at Switchyard Park beginning sometime in mid-June, or it may be a little later. And we will continue the online Saturday market as long as it is recommended by the Monroe County Health Department. Our goal is to get back to our on-site one-on-one market where customers can make purchases on-site from the vendors directly. However, we are working closely with Monroe County Health Department to follow their recommendations and guidelines. And so the photo shows we've had a one-way directional market with arrows. We've had vendors spaced out and customers spaced out with a limited amount of customers allowed in the market space at one time. You're giving an assigned time to come to market. We are able to make exceptions if you can't make that time. And then no direct contact with the vendors. They simply hand you your pre-purchased product. We have hand washing stations on site. And as I said, it's a one-way direction market to keep everybody safe. It's been working out really well. If you haven't given it a try, you can go online to the Farmers Market website and place an order, and they are taking orders now. It usually closes at midnight or unless it fills. And thus far, we have not filled. Last week, we filled 658 different orders and had about 45 vendors on site. So it has been successful. We're chomping at the bit to get back to our regular market, but we know that that will come in time. Talking a little bit about the Banneker Community Center, they've been engaged with the rest of the department and opportunities for their facility to play a role in the city's COVID-19 response. The plans created as a response to the health emergency have given Banneker a blueprint to make an impact on underserved Bloomington residents. At this time, Banneker is pursuing programming options that would help meet the needs of youth and families in June and July through the summer food service program. Staff is excited about the possibilities, and we look forward to sharing more information in the very near future about that program. But in the meantime, Banneker staff will continue to engage residents and provide virtual programming to Banneker Facebook page and to the park's YouTube channel. So summer camp will not have the usual look that it has had at Banneker. Instead, our focus will be on getting nutritious meals out to the community who needs it. And then also a little like Banneker summer camp on the go. We will be providing activity packets to the kiddos in the area. So that's a little bit about Banneker. Moving on to Kid City, just a reminder, Kid City has been providing quality camp opportunities since 1993 and will continue to do so during these unprecedented times. Kid City staff have been diligent in researching ways to offer families a camp option for the summer of 2020. With guidance from local health authorities, the Center for Disease Control, the American Camping Association, and the Family and Social Service Administration policies have been put in place that will screen participants and limit social circles the best that we can. Camp will look different this summer. Campers will be divided by age, will not be divided by age, but actually kept in consistent groupings that keep siblings together to create to the extent that we can. Parents will drop off and pick up campers outside due to the number of limited people inside buildings, and we are following strict hand hygiene and building disinfecting procedures as well. Staff will be wearing face coverings, and we have asked that the campers wear them as well when they're indoors. And there have been many health and safety protocols that have been put in place. We look forward to spending lots of time outside this summer and many fun activities that include physical distancing. So that's a little bit about Kid City, and we're getting ready very soon to open registration for that. In response to the need for emergency services during the COVID-19, discussions and plans were implemented for emergency childcare for our healthcare workers. This was through a group that was formed, the Child Care Urgent Needs Task Force. We played a big role in this, and staff worked in cooperation with other agencies to develop a pod concept of childcare at various locations, such as Banneker and the TLRC. We were ready to implement 3 pods of childcare in response to the needs in our community. But unfortunately, we never got to implement those program plans. By the time, and it does take a while to respond, so many people had started working remotely that the child care need all of a sudden went down. But those plans have come in handy as we look to the future programming of our own camps and things within our department. Also, as we repurposed some of our facilities, the Allison Jukebox Community Center was utilized by the Bloomington, Indiana Fabric Mask Drive. So this site was used for dropping off supplies and picking up fabric masks. And I'm guessing you probably read about it and maybe even own one of these fabric masks. And they've been great, a great asset to the community. They're going to continue to be at that location at the Allison Jukebox building only till Friday of this week. And then beginning Tuesday, May 26th, they're going to move their location to the Banneker Community Center, where their hours of operation will run from 2 to 6 on Monday through Friday. I do have to announce one cancellation that was a big deal, and that's our 4th of July parade. We hated to have to cancel it, but other than doing a virtual parade, it was hard to think of a way that we could come together without and keep social distancing when we offer a parade that usually has 8,000 to 10,000 people in attendance. So for this year, we put that on hold and canceled it, and it'll be back again next year, ready to go. I want to end on a really happy note. That is a great way to end this update, and I wanted to share with you some great news. This will come out officially in a news release very, very soon, but since we're all here, we thought a little preview was in order. And I would like to announce that the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department, specifically the Banneker Community Center, is one of 15 agencies nationwide to receive a Parks as Community Nutrition Hubs Expanding Access to Healthy Foods grant from the National Recreation and Park Association with support from the Walmart Foundation. There were 3 categories: urban, suburban, and rural. And Banneker was one of 5 departments in the urban category to be chosen. So there were 15 agencies chosen overall, but that got narrowed down by the 3 categories. And so Banneker really was one of 5 departments selected for the category of urban. So we are really, really proud of this. Our department was picked nationally for support of our efforts around increasing access to meals, providing nutrition education, and implementing a nutrition hub model. The focus is on addressing food insecurity by increasing valuable nutrition resources to underserved residents. I'd like to specifically call out Eric Pearson, Corey Hawkins, and Jess Klein, who worked together to apply for this 2-year grant totaling $80,000. We have worked with IU Health and our very own GOAL program in developing this program, and look for more input from others in the community as we proceed. In 2019, the Banneker Community Center was awarded almost $200,000 in a grant funding from Regional Opportunity Initiatives, Inc., or ROI, to enhance spaces within the facility in support of becoming a community and a cultural hub. These improvements, which by the way, are undergoing right now, so the fact that we aren't open to the public has allowed us to make use of this time. And when people do start going back to Banneker, they're going to see a lot of difference in the facility, a lot of improvements that are really exciting. But those improvements, combined with the rich history of our programming for underserved Bloomington residents, positioned our department to apply and to receive this NRPA Community Nutrition Hub funding. So look for more information in the press release to come out about that. But I want to say congratulations to those staff. I'm so proud of them that it's, I get teary-eyed just talking about it. So that's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
Thank you so much, Becky. And that is really fabulous news about all those great things that have been going on at Banneker. That's excellent. Yes. And thank you. I'm sure people appreciate hearing the other updates, Farmers Market and Kid City. And so minute by minute changes in some cases.
They have been minute by minute, and some of them are dependent on when we get to move into the next stage. And, you know, as Paula said, we haven't put dates on that because we just don't know. Right. So we're ready to go, just waiting for the word. So check with our department if you have any questions, and we'd be happy to answer.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much. Les, do you have any questions or comments?
Just a comment, Becky, you and your team, and particularly Eric and his team, have done a remarkable job again. I know that they've been working on this for several months now, and it just shows what your group is capable of. It's amazing. Well,
and to their credit, this was due during, April. So we were right in the throes of COVID and trying to be responsive and reactive to what was going on around us, but at the same time, writing a grant for this. So we're very proud.
You ought to be.
And Israel, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, no, congratulations with the let's see 1 second, with the award. I just wondering, there were 5 recipients for this category, and I was wondering the other 4 ones were in Indiana or?
Well, that's a good question. We just got this announcement. Was it yesterday? I think it was. It's been within the last 24 hours or so, and there is an upcoming meeting via Zoom that they will go over the first steps of this, and we can tell by looking on there like what other departments might have been rewarded this, and it looks like there might have been one other one in Indiana, but to say what category they were in, we don't know.
Right, because anyway, just being in the top 5, it's a great achievement. But I would say if we are the only or if the Banneker is the only one in Indiana, that's even higher for all the work and all the things they do and they offer.
And I'll just jump in here and say, to be awarded this by the National Park and Recreation Association is really phenomenal. This is our national organization that accredits us and awards the gold medal. So this staff is really competing at a national level and will really benefit from the trainings and support that NRPA will be providing them throughout the 2 years to run the program. They really have a strong program arm to that organization, and so to be able to be working so closely with them is really going to be beyond that's beyond the funding that we are awarded, but there's going to be also those benefits that our staff will definitely be a part of, which is really exciting for them as well.
All right, thank you very much, Becky and Paula. And next, do we have John Turnbull out there somewhere in the ether for some project updates?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim, for setting this up. I'm always a little worried about the technology on my end.
Just let me know when you want the Excel spreadsheets brought up, okay?
Okay. I've been asked to give 2 reports, and I'll start with the first one is in reference to our aquatics area and really the issues and considerations for this very unprecedented summer. Obviously, it's really been a serious issue in terms of whether to open or not. And I want to really assure you that Dee Tuttle is now over aquatics, oversees that area, and her staff, Shanda Sims, have spent countless hours studying CDC requirements, the state directives, also most importantly, the county directives, and really the associations that have been very helpful to gather information and interpret what some of the issues are for pools. Indiana Parks and Recreation Association, the National Parks and Recreation Association, and also peer organizations across the state and across the country that we've developed relationships with. So really what I did for you was try to give some clarity to what some of the major issues are for everyone in terms of whether to open the pools or not. Obviously, it's a balance between health and public health. It's a balance between, it's a big jobs program for us here in Bloomington every summer. It's a balance between, what families typically do and the kind of service that we typically deliver. And it's also a balance of whether there is a demand, given all the circumstances. So what I did was give you 5 salient issues to really consider, not that they're the only ones, but they're certainly the very important ones. And the first one that you'll see on your report, if you have it in front of you, is the staff training. And I want to mention that we use the American Red Cross. That's not the only certification program, but it is the most popular. They are currently not certifying any lifeguards until the social distancing has been taken off. So that really is a stage 5 consideration. And so the earliest in the state of Indiana would be around July 4th that anyone could start training. But I just wanted to let you know that those classes are required for us because we don't have an indoor aquatic facility where we can train all year round and then maybe bring a staff to an outdoor facility. We do heavy training in the early spring and in the summer because we ramp up so much in the summer with a large staff. So that certainly, when you consider you have to do boarding for bringing a rescue, you have to do deep water rescue, and American Red Cross won't let us train for that until social distancing is off. The other one, I just wanted to let you know the preparations for a large mechanical operation, which a pool is a large mechanical operation. It really takes us 3 weeks to put water in and then get the mechanics going and the pumps. There's always a problem, as you know, because equipment sits idle for several months, and that usually requires some sort of fixing and maintenance. And then we have to get the chemicals just right so that the pool can be inspected and allowed for people to go in. So certainly those preparations are a big factor too. Operationally, factors, if any aquatic facility were open before stage 5, which means while there's still some social distancing going on, I just want to highlight some of the major ones. There are some small details, but certainly you would have to do social distancing at a retail entry level point, regular cleaning of high contact surfaces, no deck chairs, no drinking fountains, a 50% bather load. And a bather load is a rather complicated formula, but we know it, and And so that's not really probably a big problem, considering that we wouldn't anticipate a huge demand or whatever. But no swim lessons could be permitted when there's social distancing. And our current setup with lifeguards and employees is a very tight quartered, so that would have to be greatly modified. Of course, there'd be masks for employees. The deck is a real issue in terms of social distancing, and that would have to be dealt with. And then we have in our facility several slides and water features. So, that would certainly have to be dealt with as well. All these issues I sort of forgot to mention was that, your input is very important to us, and I'm sure you may not want to express it in public, but Paul is always a great listener. We're great listeners, or even the administration. So you might want to mull over some of these factors, or just sort of discuss it or think about it for a while. But really, we're presenting this, and Paul asked me to present this to really get some input or get some ideas for you at some point, probably. The other factor is certainly financials. And I provided a couple spreadsheets for you. Kim, if you want to put them up, you can, but you don't really have to. I trust that they're in your packet. The only thing I want to highlight for you, and I simplified in the report, was historically Mills Pool is about a $100,000 deficit operation, and we know that. That's part of the the goals and objectives of the Parks Department in our subsidy goals. But if you look at those columns, there's a column to the right as if we didn't open, and I think I'd like to draw your attention to the column in the middle that assumes little revenue, or worst case assumption of revenues. I honestly want to be very clear that we have no idea what sort of revenue situation we would have if we were to open. So that's a big qualifier here. So I really wanted to mention that. Obviously, the deficit goes down if you don't open up, because you just don't have those staffing costs and the lifeguarding costs and all that. Bryan Park, for your information, I don't think a lot of people know this, and I often found this interesting myself, is Bryan Pool can historically, in a regular, normal operating year, be a break-even operation. Obviously, a later start or during these circumstances, we wouldn't assume that, but it's just a piece of information I think you might find interesting, because the revenue component of that operation is much greater than obviously Mills Pool. But again, if we didn't operate and we didn't open, that would be a deficit, but certainly a far less deficit than if we had a shortened season. And then the last factor I thought maybe that you might want to consider and ponder, and then if you want to, provide your input to Paul or the administration, however, is really what kind of impact we may have. And I think that's really a matter of an opinion, or some of it's really a guess. Most professionals and our peers have extensively discussed that if you don't open by July 4, it's really hard to have any impact at all. And, certainly that's going to be very troubling. And that may be handed to us anyway. But there have been announcements already by several parks departments and YMCAs and public pool operators and private operators. And I listed some of those for you. Columbus, Indiana has announced they're not opening. City of Evansville, Vanderbilt County, which has large pools down in the Evansville area. They're not in the City of Evansville system, but they're in the county system. And then I listed Mooresville, Clarksville, Jeffersonville, and then most of Illinois has already announced. These are just places that have announced that they're not going to open. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Really, it's for your information. It's for you to consider because it's a big part, and we've taken it. We knew when this all was going to happen that, the pools are really a high profile area for us, and it's something that we had to study, and we've continued to study extensively.
Right. Well, thank you, John. I really appreciate all of that information. I'm sure the public does as well. And I don't know about Les and Israel, but I would say nearly every day for the past month, I see someone or they message me and they say, "Are the pools going to open?" And I say, "I don't know." And I totally understand. I mean, pools are very expensive to operate even in normal times. So I really appreciate you looking at all of the different options and explaining that it wouldn't be just that's it. Okay, well, it can't be till July, but it's open. Come in, pull up a deck chair, buy a soft drink. That it's not going to be that way. So I know there are a lot of factors. I've been reading a lot about some of the pools and beaches on the East Coast, just having family there, and they're trying to weigh what to open and what not to open. And some statistics that when pools were shut down all summer during the polio epidemic for several years, that drownings actually went up because it was hot and people went to unguarded bodies of water anyway. So, but I understand, if you can't open until July, what kind of an impact, as you say, is that? So I think another factor is we don't know what's happening with local schools yet. And if they're not starting back in person in August, then will August be another month where kids are looking for something to do and families are looking for something to do? I mean, it's typically, swimming weather all through the end of August. But we don't know that yet either. So, yeah, and lifeguard training you mentioned, which is, I think, another thing people probably don't think about. So yeah, I just really appreciate all the overview, and that's a tough decision to make. So, Les, do you have any comments or questions?
Les, you're muted.
Oh.
Sorry about that. I can't get used to that. I have, several questions that fly to mind. I've actually wondered about this before when this thing really hit. I think it would be useful to me if we could have a Zoom video with, I know there's quorum issues, but I think this has to be a discussion item because I don't have enough information. And I'd really like to hear what, John, you have to say, and Paula, you have to say particularly as well. Excellent report, John. You laid it out. I think the people watching this will clearly get this is no small matter to make a decision on. But maybe we could do some smaller Zoom meetings where we can have some discussion.
Okay. All right. And yes, thanks, Les. And Israel, do you have any comments or questions for John?
I have a question regarding the slides because they are going to be open, and there is on the report a statement about having or being careful with this and taking social distancing measures regarding the slides. So I wonder if you can explain more about this, how the measurements are going to be.
If somebody could help me with that, I didn't catch the whole thing.
John, how are we going to manage the physical social distancing around the slides at both pools? Lines to the slides and that.
Yeah, we have discussed that. It would be pretty difficult. It would be much as a retail situation that you see at a retail operation where there is markers for where your feet are. There would certainly have to be some cleaning of high contact surfaces on a very regular basis, but that would probably be, mostly what you would see is a queue or a regulation of how close people could be and how many could go down a slide.
Okay, Israel, any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay. All right. Great.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, go ahead, John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. The next area would be just an update. I was asked to give an update on some capital projects, and I'm really glad to be able to report on something that is in progress and ongoing, if you know what I mean. I mean, there's a lot of things that are treading water, but work is going on in a lot of craft or some sort of trades industry. And so I'm happy to report that the Twin Lakes Recreation Center, the front counter is probably 95% done. This is Megan and Mark that are modeling for you. There are no signs and there's no graphics for you, but you can see that the colors come out pretty good for this. And there was the new counter and the countertops, along with the cabinets in the front area there. If you could go to the next slide, there's some other parts. And the scope of this project was put some flooring along the hallway there in the front. It's rubberized flooring. And so you see that on your left-hand side there. And then there are the offices that has a new layer of carpet put down and just really fine-tune the drywall, which was really beat up and really old. So I think you're going to be real happy with it, I guess. And Paula expressed it to me today, but when I first saw it, I was like, wow. So it does have a little bit of a wow effect, even without the graphics in the pictures. The project at Twin Lakes also, that's the HVA system replacement. This was awarded quite some time ago, so you may not remember the whole thing, but on your left-hand side, I hope it's on your left-hand side, but yeah, that's an old HVAC unit. It's a massive unit. And on the right-hand side is just a snapshot of the newer units, not hooked up with the ductwork. But this project is close to a $500,000 project when you talk about moving air, which now we know is really, really critical. The cubic yards of air that you move in a facility have to be moved. So we're about 75% done with that project. And I hope when you're able to get out, you'll just take a moment to look at both of them and just wander and take a look at these projects. As we speak, the Twin Lakes Softball Complex parking lot is being repaved. I had to take some pictures last week. This is when they were doing the cleanup and the grading in preparation for paving that lot. As you know, it suffers from a lot of minerals that come on the lot from all the springs out there at Twin Lakes. But we did specify a berm on the one side to mitigate the water, and then also we're raising that pavement. So I don't think it's going to, over time, totally eliminate the problem, but it will certainly extend the life of the pavement. Again, it'd be great if you could see it when you're out and about. Bryan Park Tennis Courts, we are currently talking with the contractor that you awarded a contract to schedule this. We are in favor of scheduling it late in the summer. These are hugely popular now, as you've probably all driven by and seen. It suffers a lot from foliage and the trees that are near it. Staining from walnuts is bad, but it's going to get a nice new look. I think you're going to be real happy if you've seen Winslow or if you've seen Sherwood Oaks. We'd like to do the same color scheme, but that project probably won't start and you probably won't see anything until August. And then the best slide I had for you on you may have forgotten about this too, because it's been a long awarded and it's been held up in the IDEM approval process, but this is the Green Yard Waste project down at Lower Cascades. If you can see, this is a shot where the ball fields are there, and then the section where I believe years ago there were mobile homes there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now it's quite overgrown. And so we are planning to have a green yard waste section there that's going to save the city. We really don't know how far it could go. It could be, I think it could be, have great potential, but instead of city crews traveling way out in the county to dump debris and pay for it, could actually be done here at a much closer proximity. It can be mulched up, and as much as 80% of the volume can be reduced and then potentially hauled off later after all the reduction is done. Additionally, in this project, we're going to get some water problems that have plagued the parking lot at Lower North Cascades. Is going to be taken care of with some remediation there. And also some of the parking lot on the Lower South is going to be eliminated, and there's going to be some mitigation and some vegetation that's going to be put in there to help with all that erosion that happens there. So those are the projects. If you have any questions or if you're out roaming, I really encourage you to stop and take a look at. Thank you. Any questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you very much for the updates, John. Les, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Just a quick comment. I want to thank all the team on getting the renovation done, as Paula would have guessed. I have a big well done, and thank you. That was, in my mind, needing a significant touch for a good while. Everything else behind it was looking really good. But anyway, it does look truly wowable, John. Congratulations to the architect and your crew and you.
Thank you.
All right, and yes, and Israel, any questions or comments?
No question.
Okay. All right, thank you again, John. And lastly, we'll have Dave Williams up to tell us about a couple of capital projects.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good deal. We've got a tremendous amount of projects in various stages of design or construction, so I'm going to highlight a few. Obviously, with COVID and construction activities deemed to be essential, our projects that I'll be talking about in a couple of minutes that are actually under construction have proceeded without interruption, arguably perhaps even more efficiently and time sensitive wise than maybe it would be if a lot more people were out and about. But you're aware that we have a large list of capital projects funded by the general obligation bond, a TIF bond. The biggest flagship for that is Switchyard Park. We also have the Bicentennial Trails and Trees bond. So we have a lot of projects under design. I think most significantly right now would be we're looking at establishing a scope of work for a trail that would run within the Duke power line easement from the west side of Rogers Street to the east side of Weimer Road, and it literally is on the doorstep of the Rogers Street entrance to Switchyard Park. We're anxious to get that project under design. We are under design, along with Steve Cogger and Rebecca Jania. We are designing a fishing pier that will go on the lake side of the causeway at Griffey Lake, as well as about a 6-mile loop trail for those that really want to get out and do some serious hiking. It's, I think, going to be a very popular facility when constructed, and Griffey Lake is doing a land office business. And as Paula mentioned, people are out and about on our parks and trails, which is a good thing. We're also park board minutes, even back then, the park board was awarding fund allocations to address streamside erosion. So we're looking at primarily the areas between the two shelter houses for a project. So we'll be providing more details on that as design progresses. I wanted to talk a little bit about the projects that are underway. Kim, if you can move to the next slide. Switchyard Park, obviously, is the most prominent project. It's interesting, the feedback that I get, I know Paula gets about, oh, things are coming along, things are getting done. I'd say the most substantial difference that's happened this year, and we've been under construction just about 2 years now, is the landscape. Just thousands and thousands of native plants going in, hundreds of trees are going in. That work has been moving ahead unabated, largely unaffected by wet weather conditions. We have some tune-ups and some fix-ups and some punch list items that we're working with the contractor to correct. We are not done. We probably won't be done for a little while. Weather is giving us some challenges, in particular with installation of sod in the Great Lawn area by much as a park construction project. We are remediating the coal ash and cinder soils in Switchyard Park, so we have to be extremely diligent on the measuring the thicknesses of the specified soils. So when this park does fully open to the public and everyone can once again gather for a concert or to gather in the dog park, we will know and have great assurance that what lies underneath is under a protective layer for public safety. So we're continuing to move ahead on that project, and we'll keep you in touch with when the final completion arrives. Next slide, please, Kim. The pavilion, I'm sorry, I went ahead a little bit. I just wanted the flagship facility is the pavilion. Ironically, we're not allowed to assemble too many people in it, but it has been a very well received building. This is a LEED silver building, so we have a lot of inspections and certifications and things of that nature to complete in order to get that certification, but we're well on our way towards achieving that final project closeout on the pavilion. Okay, now next slide, please, Kim. RCA Park. I started with the department in 1993, summer of 1993, when the park was under construction. And what is on the left, the new asphalt trail, we got about 25 years out of the original one. But keep in mind, 25 years ago, there wasn't Summit Elementary School. There wasn't anywhere near the residential development upstream from RCA Park. So the park has a stream that runs through its southern end. And over the years, over the decades, a just tremendous amount of stormwater went through the park. It did substantial damage to the paved accessible trail on the south side of the tennis courts. And one of the bond-funded projects was to repair those trails, put in bigger drainage conveyances, bigger pipe to literally design the park to handle a lot more stormwater run through than it was originally designed to do, because who knew what was going to happen. So new boardwalks, new pipes, basically connecting this trail. Also to the north, there's a shelter house to the west that now has a paved service access as well as a trail. And then whenever we have a park with a loop trail, Building Trays is an example, RCA Park is an example, people love to walk the loops. And we're happy to say that this project is kind of in the cleanup mode. The paving's been done. We have some plantings to do, some cleanup along the edges of the trail. But this project was about 280,000. We had one bidder, and it was overestimate, but the bidder is one that we've developed a relationship with. He specializes in this kind of off-road, backwoods construction, and we're really pleased with the quality. Next slide, please. Waldron Hill and Buskirk Park, AKA 3rd Street Park. As long as I've been with the department, and I, as a child, remember going to ceramics class at the jukebox. So this building has been around for a long time. It's always lacked an ADA compliant, accessible entrance. And we now have one under the guidance and assistance of Amy Shrake at the AJB. We completed that design with Cornerstone Planning. Kreider was the contractor. We also finally addressed, and we quite frankly gave up on trying to grow grass in front of the stage between the daily recess activity of the project school, Shakespeare in the Park, Kid City, just normal park usage, concert. It simply was not an area that we could keep a good stand of grass in. So we have put in pervious pavement that will allow the water to percolate down through the paver stones. It's still a very good surface for recreational play, and obviously a more stable surface for performances and things of that nature. This project is done. John Barnes on our staff is putting in an irrigation system, so we're going to hopefully have better maintenance of the turf in the park. Heads up, what's coming is what may be the final phase of the City Utilities Department's Big Dig. You may recall when that occurred on Kirkwood, gosh, quite a few years ago. It will have an impact on the park's playground. We're working very closely with City Utilities on how that design would occur, the replacement of the playground, and there will be some tree issues we will also have to contend with. Okay, Ken, let's go to Crestmont Park. To the left was the original playground that was constructed by park staff, I want to say about 18 years ago. To the right is the brand new playground that ironically still has the fence around it. This is an example of something I'm very happy about, and also extend my appreciation to Operations Superintendent Mark Maratz. We simply did not have the money to construct what is on the right-hand side of this photo unless we did it in-house. And we've had an on-again, off-again history based on what talent we have in our staff. But about 10 years ago, we lost a lot of that talent upon retirement. So we kind of assumed more of a day-to-day maintenance mode and less of a capital construction mode. I'm pleased to say that we have filled vacancies with some very strong trades people. Phil Paris has come on board that has a tremendous amount of construction experience, and we're using it. And so not only are we able to provide a lot more bang for our buck, but it also instills in our staff a lot of pride saying, I built this, and I built it as good as any hired contractor. We also had a $110,000 community development block grant that helped us make a much bigger, much better playground. It has creature comforts there with shaded seating and tables, and the neighborhood understandably can't wait to use it. Obviously, we're going to have to bide our time until it's safe to do it, just like every other playground location. But we're really anxious to cut the ribbon on this new facility at the Crestmont Park. It's surrounded by the Crestmont Housing Authority. Okay, I think that's it, is it not, Kim? Yes, so, and I also wanted to extend my appreciation to all the operations staff, both full-time and seasonal. We've been essential from day one. 90% of the staff has come to work. As Paul indicated, the mowing has to be done, the trash removal has to be done. We're also able, because of closure of some facilities, at least for the foreseeable future, we've been able to invest in improvements in other locations. We're on a long list of backlog capital improvement projects was an accessible sidewalk entrance to Schmaltz Farm Park. We've had that park since 1996. It's been forever and a day on a list of things to do. Well, now we have the time to do it. So we're attacking some of those backlog of projects that we, with our in-house staff and our materials budget, are able to complete. So I'm pretty happy to see that the maintenance is continuing, albeit with a lot of people out in our parks and trails, and we'll keep it up. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, any questions or comments? Let's start with Les.
Yeah, just a small item, Dave. When you were talking about the Twin Lakes lot, that's been a challenge for many years, and we had to spend a small fortune to get the fields drained properly. I assume when you said they raised the parking lot, they put some more gravel under it to get that water out.
Les, I'm going to defer to John on that one if he's still on board. That's his project. But yes, if they're going to pitch the sheet drainage to a different location than what exists, they would have to riff out the pavement, add some more sub-base before they put the pavement in a new drainage profile.
Yeah, that's the only way you can handle that. It's just
Exactly.
float it there.
Now, granted, in a bigger picture, longer term thing, if finance is permitted, you can pipe it, store it underground, that type of thing. But I think John is making sure that within the constraints of his budget, that there will be an improvement to the lot and that the longevity of the asphalt will be improved.
Yeah. Just one other thing, the green waste situation, I think that's going to work out well. It's been talked about for a while, but there's got to be significant money savings in that, Dave.
We think so. Not only money savings, but time savings. I mean, to load
just
a truck,
transportation
to transport it to typically Greene County is, maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. As John indicated, we think we can render a lot of our tree waste into a mulch product. Now, it has to be very high grade and screeded to be used for playgrounds, but landscaping mulch, hiking trail pathways can be used this kind of mulch. But as you know, Les, and again, you've been around for a while, the master plan long ago was to try to acquire all properties within the Cascades Valley. And we've done that, other than the IMI quarry, which is, quantum.
That's a dream to be later.
It is a well down, perspective road, but we acquired the motorcycle shop. We acquired the mobile home park, which is essentially the site where the green waste yard will go. We acquired the monastery property and did a lot of reviews and analysis about a potential reuse of that facility and determined that the best approach for Cascades Park was to return that location to green space. We did the demolition in-house, which was at a significant cost savings. So we now have an area that we think we can conduct these green waste activities because we simply don't have neighbors nearby. We're not going to create a ruckus by firing up the machinery that will frequently be needed on site to dispose of the trees, to load them, to render them to mulch. We think it's a perfect location, and it speaks well for Bloomington to see if there's a recycled use for this product.
Well, and it also helps show the community that the cooperation between departments is not lost on parks.
Absolutely.
We get a lot of.
Yes, the Public Works Department is of huge assistance to us.
Huge.
In the removal of street trees. They do a lot of the transportation. They're going to benefit from the efficiency that we can create down at this location as well.
That really is something that I've wanted to see us somehow figure out how to do, because they have had our back for a long time.
And the other area too, and it's only happened once in my tenure, but every now and again, you're going to have that major weather event. The last one was 15 years ago that went through Seminary Park and took down a lot of big trees. Lee Haas always warned us that someday, somehow, some way, we were going to have a marshaling yard where it didn't matter where the trees went initially. You got to get them out of the street. You got to get them off of buildings. You got to take them to an area that you don't really concern yourself with initially what's going to happen to them. You just got to get them removed and hauled off site. So this site, and in a a catastrophic scenario, even the ball field parking lots could be used. So this is a very strategic location for us to perform a lot of functions about tree removals and tree waste.
Well, thank you for the highly informative update on those smaller capital bond projects, but they're the icing on the cake in many ways because it spreads throughout the community, the impact.
Well, and our bond funding has allowed us to really obviously do big ticket projects like Switchyard, but also attend to some of these smaller projects that have been on the list for many years.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Israel, any questions or comments for Dave?
Just thank you for everything and keep it up.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting silver lining, though, as you say, to be able to get to some projects that you normally couldn't. Even though there are definitely more people out. I mean, when I'm in Bryan Park or Switchyard or Cascades, I mean, more people are out there using it. So it's nice that you guys have been able to work around that and just second everything that Les said about some of those great projects. So thank you very much, Dave.
You're welcome.
One thing, Kathleen,
yes.
A suggestion, when we get a break from all this virus thing, I think it would be really, really good for all of the board members and the mayor and some of his staff just to take a tour, put us all in a vehicle and go around and see what impact and what a great job has been done on those bond projects. We tend to, particularly this year, the last couple of years when the Switchyard Park has been such an overshadowing project. But I go back when these capital projects were the big deal every 16 or 17 years. And I think it would be useful for all the key leadership to just see, and maybe Paul has done this already, but just spend an afternoon and show us the great things that have been done with this last round of capital money. Anyway.
Well, Les, what I'll say, and you've certainly been a part of this department for a very long time, we have never in the history of our department had the funding for so many projects as we've experienced in the last 5 years. I mean, I know when we started with this new general obligation bond package, it was like, okay, 24 projects, and then the Switchyard Park, and then we had the bicentennial bond package passed. So it's certainly, and a lot of praise goes to Dave with everything that's on his plate and managing through that and tapping this talented staff, hiring the right consultants and the right partners to see these projects through. But it really does run the gamut from the jewel of Switchyard Park all the way down to building a sidewalk and putting in a trail or a new playground. So it's a huge variety list that has a lot of touch points, and I absolutely be happy to put that together and take a tour in our new minibus that Eric got grant funding for and take a tour of all these sites because it really, really is exceptional.
Well, I sometimes wonder too, the community surely understands this has been an incredible 2 to 3 years on capital projects, but there are very few communities the size of Bloomington that can take a tour of the incredible projects that have happened in the last 7 years with this department. It's a great credit to the leadership that you and your team have put out, and 2 terms of mayors that have been willing to support this, starting with the RCA Park, I would say, and make it happen. And with a lot of foresight and a lot of out-of-the-box thinking and partnerships, like with RCA, that's one of the starting points for me. It truly is amazing as I look back, and I just want to share those thoughts from that perspective.
Thank you.
Great idea, Les. I'd look forward to a tour when we can all get a little bit more back to normal. So, Paula, do you have anything else you want to tell us about?
Just 2 things related to projects. The Twin Lakes Sports Park paving project. I don't know if you noticed in the slide that John put up, but there are a couple medians along in that parking lot there, right at the front of the parking lot, that were actually brand new when we opened that facility 20 years ago. And those medians, the landscaping and that signage was a gift from them PSI Energy, which is now Duke, and CFC. And just this past fall, CFC, Jim Murphy, and the Duke Energy partnered up together, and I wrote a grant application, and we were the recipients of matching grant funds for $10,000 to improve those 3 medians. So Joanna Sparks is overseeing that landscaping project right now, and trees and new landscaping and a new sign are right on the cusp as soon as the paving gets done. So that whole area is going to get a real sprucing up as well. And then I'd also like to take the opportunity to remind the community, and to remind all of you, if you have not done so, is to take advantage of the Lower Cascades Road conversion pilot project. We just completed our 2nd month. We started it, ironically, when COVID was hitting on March 13th. Actually, we've had 3 months, so March, April, May, and there is been a lot of use down there. We're really encouraging the community to go down and walk this piece of the road, which is now barricaded and is open for walking, and then to complete our online survey and give us your feedback. There are signage on both barricades on either end of the pilot area, and there's a QR code. So when you finish your walk, you can just put your phone up there and QR code will take you straight to that survey. But in the survey results, we do a survey pull down of the results the 13th of every month on the anniversary each month, and we post those on our website. So getting some, a lot of opinions, a lot of feedback, which is exactly why we want to do this. And the most interesting feedback that we got when we just pulled the survey results last week was the return of a lot of wildlife in the area. And it's been a great place to go and walk to practice social distancing. But again, just taking the opportunity to encourage people to go down there and try it out and let us know what you think. That your feedback is really, really vital and important on that pilot project. And other than that, great to see all of you. I'm going to say, well, our next board meeting is June 23rd, and I don't know if it's going to be like this, but if it's like this, we're 2-0 getting this done right. So Kim will certainly keep you up to date on what the format's going to be. But again, thank you for your support, and want to thank the community for their support. And I definitely personally want to thank our staff and administration for supporting our department through what has been new territory and a new time and a new chapter in the history of the department. But we're pleased that we get to do what we do and continue to serve the community in new creative ways. And it's just one day at a time is our mantra, and that's what we're doing. So we just want to thank everyone for that.
Well, excellent job keeping all these balls in the air, Paula. And yeah, it's been really impressive. So I'm sure your staff knows that, but just reiterate that one more time. So
this really works. I've got to say, an old guy like me, this really works. I enjoy it.
Well, yeah, we have to wrap up in case, normally Public Works comes in. I don't know, they might be coming to my living room for their meeting. We have to vacate the space. So, all right. So with that, we will adjourn our May meeting of the Bloomington Board of Parks Commissioners. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.